Hi, Cassandra. I wanted to leave you some feedback on your rough draft, your week 2 writing assignment. Oh my gosh, you have so much you could work with here. I hope one of these days you sit down and decide to write a memoir. Not only does it sound like you have had a so many stories to tell already, but you're a really good writer. Um, so if you enjoy it, and I say enjoy with quotation marks because I know how challenging and frustrating writing can be. However, I also know the real joy that can come from that task. I really hope that you consider doing so, because gosh, there's so much here that 6 to 8 pages really won't do it justice. So what we got to decide is, and really, I mean, what you need to decide is how to narrow this down, how to get your focus. Um, I'm wondering, I'm wondering, we were talking in class that this week about that arc. Um, I I'm wondering if the arc, the clear beginning, middle, and end, and really what I'm thinking about is the end, is this fear that you would be judged as being too American once you moved to the Dominican Republic. I think that would be a really interesting moment, that all that stress and pressure of being, well, essentially the fear of being mislabeled, because you had such a well, I don't know if I want to say negative experience, but um, you were in this position to be you had an awareness, a critical awareness of the United States in a way that a lot of people from the states don't have, right? Um, and you were concerned that you would be associated with that identity. So I wonder if all of that could lead to an arc, right, of you finally feeling like you fit in with the Dominican Republic, and then maybe kind of like coming to terms with all these different influences now that you are, well, you're in the States again, studying, working on your education. And to me, gosh, you have a wealth of experience and a perspective that we really need to hear. Um, so, a lot of what you're doing so far, like I said, it's really clear writing and it's good writing, but I would consider it summary, right, over descriptive. And again, it's okay for this assignment, because you're just getting your ideas out of your head and onto the page. Uh, but you want to think about stretching out some of those details. When you read your piece in class this week, one of the things that struck me is, and I know that piece was about Honduras, though it sounds like you're leaning towards writing about the Dominican Republic. But one of the things that struck me and that I thought was so lovely is so much of place for you had to do with, like, this wonderful blend of the environment and people, meaning there was so much of your description had to do with the natural world, but at the same time it was clear that you weren't isolated and alone, right? That even though you were describing, the flora and fauna and the breeze on your face, so all these really natural elements, you were still talking about people and the buildings that you saw and the smell of coffee. I think that's something that came up in breakfast cooking. And one of the things that struck me so much as, someone who has never lived abroad, I've traveled abroad, but never lived abroad, and something that makes me really disappointed in my own culture and something that I personally don't connect with is how disassociated Americans are with the natural world. Not all of us, but a goodly amount of us are very much disassociated from nature. And I think that, you know, and sorry, I'm beginning to editorialize here, but I think if we had that connection to nature, if we didn't separate ourselves so much, we would be in a better position to be taking care of, the planet and each other, right? And the human beings on that planet and all the flora and fauna than we are now. And so I bring this up because one of the things that struck me so much is when you wrote about place is I really couldn't make a clear distinction between the natural world and the human world, and that's something that was so lovely, and that I really wanted to, as your audience, I really wanted to hear more about. So I don't know if that's a theme that you would want to continue, but it's something that you could certainly talk about as well, and perhaps, if that's something that you've noticed, particularly when you're talking about, how difficult it was to come to the States and, be impacted by its quote unquote values. I think that might be an interesting thing. But then this right here, the reason why you guys left, that could be a story in and of itself as well. So to me, gosh, it's just like you've got so much here. That's why I'm suggesting that you eventually get to writing your life story. But for this particular paper, right, it's narrowing down and thinking about what specific narrative do you want to tell. And I think the one down here that you're talking about with the Dominican Republic would work wonderful as well. It's just beginning to think about and see that arc, right? So maybe bringing these themes together, you were so frightened that you would be mislabeled or judged for being too American. And then, eventually you were accepted. You might think about, well, is there something, kind of different about you and your perspective, right? The fact that you grew up in Honduras and then you experienced the United States and then you guys moved again to the Dominican Republic. Is there something unique to that perspective that allowed you to be so open to other cultures and other perspectives in a way that, maybe a singular American counterpart wouldn't be able to experience? I don't know. That could be another potential idea that you could explore. So I'm seeing several. To me, all of them could be fantastic. It's just deciding, right, really what you want to focus on for this paper to get that clear arc. I have no worries at all about your ability to really get in there and give good descriptive detail. Here, you're primarily relying on very fact-based writing, but it's very clear fact-based writing, right? Like, it's not necessarily descriptive, but it's very concrete, it's very clear, and for the most part feels very linear. But so that alone tells me that you've got an excellent handle on effective writing, and what you did in class the other day lets me know that you've got a good handle on descriptive writing as well. So I don't know, you got the green light go from me. It's just figuring out what story you actually want to tell. All right, Cassandra, I look forward to seeing where you take this.